Want to go to the movies with us tonight, Karen? It's a sci-fi rom-com screwball thriller!
Animated, with songs!
Plankton the Movie. Oh no, not again! It hasn't even been a year since the last time this happened! I'm still trying to recover from that disaster they pulled last time! But alas, to quote the Muppets, I thought it was the end, but no, my friends, this is when we get to do it all again! Okay, to give you a refresher on what I'm talking about, in the year prior to this film, Netflix released Saving Bikini Bottom, the Sandy Cheeks movie, which is the first of a planned series of SpongeBob spin-off features exclusively for streaming. However, when it was released back in the summer, the Sandy Cheeks movie came with an unexpected catch.
Wow, Texas sure is magical.
It was absolutely horrible. I don't know if I could say that it's the worst thing to ever come out of SpongeBob, but not only is it unanimously considered to be the worst movie from the franchise, but I'd even go as far and say that it's one of the worst animated movies to ever come out exclusively on Netflix. It not only has the usual suspects that you'd expect from a bad movie, but sometimes you never know just how bad it can get.
They die.
To this day, I still don't understand how groups of people could look at this and think, yeah, this is fine. We can have this for the final film. But my point is, because of the Sandy Cheeks movie, the idea of a SpongeBob spin-off Netflix movie left a terrible taste in my mouth. So having another one come out not even a year after that doesn't help to have me feel enthusiastic for it. But who knows? Maybe that was just an atrocious first impression and they could get it right the second time around. That, and considering how the whole film got leaked several months ago, and the reactions from then don't seem to put people off as badly as Saving Bikini Bottom, this could have a chance to redeem the idea of these SpongeBob spin-off films. So now that Plankton is dominating this movie, can the smallest resident of Bikini Bottom carry a whole feature on his own? Or will that idea be as efficient as the Chum Bucket's business? Let's find out. The story. I'll say now that the title doesn't fully reflect what this film is all about, because this is not just Plankton's movie. This is about both Plankton and his computer wife, Karen.
You know what your problem is? Are you even listening to me?
Of course I'm listening. I'd love some coffee.
Yeesh, kind of harsh. But this conflict turns into everyone's problem, as Karen becomes sick of Plankton's never-ending failed attempts of stealing the Krabby Patty secret formula and takes matters into her own hands to go and conquer the world. And it's up to the little evil genius and SpongeBob to stop her and make their relationship work again.
We'll explore where your relationship with Karen went wrong, get you two back together, and save Bikini Bottom.
An important factor about this feature is that the story and the screenplay is written by Mr. Lawrence, who is not only known as the voice of Plankton, but is also a longtime SpongeBob writer. So if there is one person who knows the green villain more than anyone else, it's that guy. And the movie was Lawrence's moment to flex his knowledge and present the character's entire backstory that answers all the questions regarding his personality. From his hillbilly origins, to why he created Karen, to his time he went to college, to why he became so obsessed with the Krabby Patty secret formula.
Aye, thanks to my secret formula, the patties will take over the world. Huh?
But again, this is not just to learn about Plankton's history. The real focus of this picture is the relationship between Plankton and Karen, since the source of the film's big conflict is his negligence to her feelings, which placed their bond in a bad position. When flashing back into the past, the point is not only to see how they fell in love with each other, but to also find the clues as to what could fix their relationship in the present. No pun intended, but their love for each other is also the heart of the picture, as you experience their romance unfold and highlight why Karen is so important to Plankton. He wouldn't be the evil mastermind we know him today if it weren't for her assistance, both to build his machines and emotionally. In a twisted way, even if he's the franchise's villain, the movie can be engaging so that you want to see them ultimately get together because of how much they complete each other.
Partners?
In crime. Now let's supersize this baby and take over the world!
However, as much as the elements about Plankton works, the movie story in general is a bit as messy as his attempts to steal the formula. The criticism I have with the plot is how it can get repetitive. For a good chunk of it, it has a formula of its own where it repeats its steps to keep the movie going, where SpongeBob and Plankton hide from Karen's wrath, they look back into his past, they discover a piece of the relationship, Karen finds them and causes an action scene, and then it goes back to step 1. And as it goes through this cycle, it becomes quickly predictable as to what Plankton needs to do to make amends with Karen and stop her rampage. I get that this is still a SpongeBob movie and that it can't make itself too complex so that kids can also follow along, but my point is that I don't think the journey is a strong factor in grabbing the viewer's attention.
Hold on, Evil! There are steps to be taken for world domination.
But it's not just what it does in itself that's repetitive. At this point, seeing the entirety of Bikini Bottom in peril is starting to lose its flavor. Maybe it's because I've been watching all the SpongeBob movies so far, but now that we're technically at movie number 5, I'm starting to feel tired to see another one of these where the city is in danger. Listen, this is like the 4th time that they have to save Bikini Bottom in a movie. I just like to see them face some kind of new threat outside of their home. Especially when the last time they were, saving Bikini Bottom, it turned out to be a Texas-sized disaster.
Looks like the potato's gone rotten. Like our relationship.
When it comes to the story, it's not well made. It's as if all the energy was put onto Plankton and Karen's relationship, while the rest was hastily put together just so that element could be placed in a movie. Not to mention how the ending was rushed to have everything resolved just so it could get it over with. However, with Plankton and Karen, their love is enough to carry the whole picture and give the movie a purpose to give the villain the spotlight. It's not great as a SpongeBob movie, but the story does work as a Plankton movie. The animation. It's kind of funny how the animation style always changes with each SpongeBob movie. And even if they would be released on Netflix, there's no consistency between them either. However, there is a clear explanation for this. When it comes to SpongeBob, especially for its computer animation, Nickelodeon doesn't always hire the same studio to work on the visuals. Sometimes they'll have some previous experiences with the franchise, but the artistry that those teams have to put into it would have to be different. In the case of Plankton, the animation is done by Redefine and Mikros. Both of them did work on a SpongeBob movie before, but again, they gave the CG another update. But when it comes to the animation itself, I'll say that it's not the best looking film from the franchise, but thankfully it is a step up from the Sandy Cheeks movie.
Well, I already faced death once today. Bring it on.
One significant factor that is different here is that it doesn't depend on live action as much as its predecessors. Yes, there are times when Plankton goes into the surface in an attempt to wreak havoc on land, but they only show up a few times and don't play a big factor onto the story other than showing how he wants to take over the world. It's honestly a relief because it doesn't have to do some of the awkward things of the last feature that made the visuals unsettling, like weird realistic animals that try to be cartoony, SpongeBob doing things that make you wonder if he has specific fetishes, and using Wanda Sykes' real head in the most horrific ways imaginable. No, I will never get over that. An effect in a big-name franchise movie like that where most YouTubers could make it look better will never be okay with me.
So, how does it taste?
Like boiled death.
But back onto Plankton, along with keeping itself mostly animated, I find that it puts in a little more effort onto sticking to the style of the series. In the previous sequels, and Camp Coral as well, they play a lot with the novelty that SpongeBob is in 3D. and went all out with elements that the original series never had before, like textures, more elaborate camera shots, and open spaces where the characters can go in all different directions. Plankton also has a little bit of those, but it puts more emphasis onto using its materials to look like the series, matching the characters' dynamic movements, its pacing, and designs to have a bit of an illusion that it looks 2D as well.
I'm Sarah. I'm shy.
And yet, I wouldn't say that it captured it perfectly. Maybe a part of it could be from its budget, but there were some sacrifices done where it came at the cost of some of its quality, such as having little to no textures, which doesn't match up well with the lighting, and the scale doesn't feel as big or immersive as it should be because of how there could be a limited amount of things that the team system could render in one scene. Maybe it could have worked if it doubled down on being stylized to look more 2D, or go all out as a 3D film to iron out the problems, but I feel like they went with a great direction with the look at first, yet it just didn't make it, and it ends up looking, at best, like a minor upgrade to Camp Coral.
Oh, he's hopeless. If anyone needs an empathy chip, it's him.
Almost got it.
Then again, there is something with the animation that it is able to make it function, and that's with the comedy. I'll say now that it can be pretty mixed. Not all the gags work, and there are some that end up falling flat and leave you feeling like Squidward. But the reason why I saved the comedy here is because most of the ones that do work are those that are executed by the animation. The gags that relate to slapstick or SpongeBob's signature wacky tone are able to be pulled off the best. And I will admit that there are a bunch of times that I got a good laugh, and they play a part in keeping me a bit engaged with the movie, knowing that, while not always, it has the capabilities to be funny.
My mind is processing complex equations, and I can see infinity.
And as an added bonus, there are a handful of scenes where the movie delivers a completely different animation style, such as an anime from the 80s and 90s, a classic cartoon, and psychedelic surrealism. They mainly show up during the musical numbers, but they do help to add that extra fun in the moments by delivering some surprises with the visuals that go beyond the film's base look.
I'll take over all of planet Earth, then I'll expand across the universe.
I won't say that this is the best animation that the franchise put onto a movie. I'll even add that it didn't succeed in capturing the style that it was looking for. However, this is still a good attempt regardless, and it still does the job to both look like SpongeBob and be funny. It's not great, but I do appreciate that the animation is enjoyable. The characters. Technically, I already went a bit onto the movie's main characters, since the story is a very character-driven narrative that revolves around one of the popular residents of Bikini Bottom other than SpongeBob. Even at that, there is still a lot more to look into with them, along with the rest of the cast. However, unlike the other movies, this one decided to keep its list of characters to a minimum and not have any new ones featured to be either a friend or a foe. I'm honestly fine with it, because that gives the film a lot more time to explore its title character. And speaking of which, like I said before, this movie really explores deep into the life of Plankton, as it reveals the moments of his life that shaped him into the bean-sized villain we know him today. Fans of the show will appreciate that there are some consistencies that it kept with what they already know about the character, such as his family being hillbillies who only have a fraction of his brain power, and that he went to college to advance his intellect as an evil genius. Maybe there are a few things that are different, but the main elements remain intact. At the same time, those parts also explain why he created Karen. Because he's so different from the rest of his family, he just wanted to have someone who could understand him and not feel alone. Someone who could share his sentiments about world domination and creating inventions that could pull that off. But over time, those ambitions got the best of him to the point that he forgot about what Karen means to him. And throughout those backstories, they explore how a big part that fuels Plankton's passion is from Karen's love. And without it, he cannot be the evil genius that he is known for.
Please, mister, no one steps on my shoulder.
As for Karen, she is fed up with being sidelined and takes action to be the movie's antagonist. Her purpose was to always be Plankton's partner. Yet over the years, as his need to have the Krabby Patty secret formula takes over him, she feels like she's only a means to an end for her husband to have power. When their love first fully bloomed, she was promised to always be beside him. But lately, she's always been behind him, and was eventually pushed where she wants to do the job of taking over the world by herself.
No, Karen, don't! Can we talk about this?
I'm done talking.
As characters individually, they're not very strong, with Plankton being an evil genius whose plans always fail, and Karen splitting herself into one-dimensional traits who at best supply some cool transformation animation. But what makes them interesting is their relationship. It's to see the dynamic that they have when they are with each other and what happens when they are apart. It's a side that's rarely seen in the SpongeBob series, but now fully explored in this movie to show how their love is genuine. Like all relationships, there are times when they can be dysfunctional, but the strongest ones are those who can overcome those problems, and the movie does a great job to present how Plankton and Karen are made for each other, both figuratively and literally.
I really do love you, Karen. Between the two of us, you're the real evil genius.
But of course, you can't have a SpongeBob movie without SpongeBob, even if he's not the protagonist. In this film, he's shown to have taken an interest in psychology, and decided to practice his inner Sigmund Freud onto Plankton to help him get back with Karen. His role is to transport audiences into Plankton's past, but I'll give the feature credit that it does manage to maintain his familiar childlike optimism.
Remember, they call it invasion of privacies.
Thank you, Mr. Krabs.
You're welcome.
As for the rest, many of them only make short appearances with little impact to the story. But the ones who do have a role are Sandy, Pearl, and Mrs. Puff. The big catch is that their personalities have completely changed, where now they are part of a group called
Pow Pows.
They are Karen's friends that she hangs out with regularly, who teams up with SpongeBob and Plankton by the third act to stop her rage.
You're gonna need some help from the Pow Pows. We gotta get this little love bug to Karen before she breaches the surface.
Again, this really is all about Plankton and Karen. You won't be getting much out of the other characters, and some are totally different to who they usually are. But with the evil duo, they highlight what makes love work, and that it's important to be there for each other as much as it is to be there for their passions. This may sound crazy, but if there's one thing that Plankton can do well, it's to love. The songs. SpongeBob is no stranger to musical numbers, since over the years, there have been several moments where the show, and even some of the films, put a memorable song and dance number. In fact, some may recall when the franchise had a whole Broadway musical that may not have lasted long, but was highly praised and earned many Tony nominations. With that said, it was only a matter of time when SpongeBob would have its own movie musical. And in the case of Plankton, maybe it doesn't feature the franchise's greatest songs, but they do spice up the feature. At best, they help make the scenes feel livelier, as they go into the genres that best suit the characters' personalities. Although I will say that it did start off a bit weird with Welcome to Bikini Bottom, where SpongeBob introduces the audience to the characters. I guess it's nice to have for newcomers, but if you're watching this movie, there's a very good chance that you already know who they are. So this honestly sounds like a rejected intro to the series.
Welcome to Bikini Bottom, at the bottom of the ocean, where every day the skies are sunny blue.
Then when Plankton gets to sing, he has a couple of rock songs to express his evil nature with I'm Plankton and I'm a Jerky Jerk.
I'm Plankton, get out of my way. I'm Plankton, better do as I say. I'm obnoxious and annoying. I'm toxic, soul destroying. I'm a jerk.
Then Karen has her number that fully embraces techno with Say My Name Karen as she expresses her pursuit for world domination without Plankton. And finally, in one of the backstories, there is I Made a New Friend, which goes into country to match Plankton's hillbilly home with his family to discuss about when he created Karen and what she first meant to him.
I made a new friend. From a tuba. I made a new friend. And a computer. I made a new friend. Literally. I made a new friend.
Honestly, I'm a little mixed with these numbers. Again, maybe this is because this is a SpongeBob movie and the intention is for kids to also follow along, but the lyrics feel a little basic and don't have a clever hook that can make a strong impact. That and the majority of the numbers are only in the first half. Once the Gal Pals come in to help Plankton when the third act starts, it's like the movie gave up on being a musical. Then again, I can't deny that they are still pretty catchy, and the execution with the way that they each embrace their respective genre does make their moments better. At best, they can be some of the movie's highlights to really make the characters' personalities shine and get more into the movie's tone, along with extra opportunities to play around with new gags during the numbers. Much like the movie's other elements, they're not among SpongeBob's best, but they are solid in their own right and help elevate the experience where the musical aspect does help them make this movie better. So yeah, that is another surprising aspect that Plankton has. He's a good lover and a good singer. Well, at the very least, it's better than the Sandy Cheeks movie. Plankton the Movie is a decent addition to SpongeBob SquarePants that highlights the franchise's villain in a way that is funny and surprisingly heartfelt. Of course, this is far from being SpongeBob's best movie. It can have its own set of problems, like the story is a bit weak, and this is not the best use of the familiar characters. But it is still able to deliver a fun time with its title character and computer wife to supply a good amount of heart and exploring their personalities to show the importance of being in a meaningful relationship, along with some good animation, fun songs, and enjoyable comedy. With the way that it's built, it feels less like a legitimate movie and more like a feature-length special. I didn't get as much as I would from some of the previous films, but definitely more than from a typical episode. This is the kind of movie where the title alone is a make-or-break deal that describes what you're getting into. It's a movie about Plankton from SpongeBob SquarePants, and I only recommend this to people who think that they would enjoy that. If you're not a SpongeBob fan, however, then maybe this won't be for you. By the way, if you enjoyed this review, then give this a like and come subscribe to my channel. You can also join my Patreon where you can support my videos and have the secret formula to some great rewards like seeing my videos before they come out on YouTube. Plankton may not have the secret formula to a great movie, but his love for his wife is just enough to make this visit to Bikini Bottom worth it.
It's not like we'll be doing this for the next 25 years.
Let's do it.